Greetings, Southern Cameroonians. Greetings, Ambazonian. This is King H, the Pan African King, the philosopher King. They say knowledge is power. How much knowledge we gain also shows how much knowledge we lack. Because for the past week, a lot has been happening on ABC, on the National Telegraph. A lot of information that we've been processing. We had our interim president become the president of Southern Cameroon, and his way forward is also interesting because Southern Cameroonians, we are a nation that is part of a continent called Africa, and we also have to realize that the issues that are going on in Southern Cameroon and in Cameroon is not different from what is happening in the continent of Africa. The children of Africa suffer. They suffer on the continent and out of the continent. They suffer because other nations and other races look down and maltreat and do not treat Africans with dignity. Our leaders, our president from all the 55 countries in Africa either move from India to beg for money, to Europe, to France, and to all the powerful nations in the world, but they don't come together to try to focus and solve the issues that is in Africa. And the issue that is destroying our continent Africa is internal as well as is external. And it's so huge that some people don't believe that we can even talk about what is actually happening and that we can actually do something to remedy what is going on in Africa. Now, freeing ourselves from Southern Cameroon, fighting like Republic, military, diplomatically, I have come to the conclusion that even with the military, it's not successful. Why do I say that? Because Southern Cameroon military forces are not strong military. They are not powerful. They haven't. Our leaders from Dr. Sako to Dr. Ayabacho, which are the two main, I would say the two main strong leaders that need to be united, that need to solve the issues of Southern Cameroon together to even give us the opportunity, the chance to defend ourselves. But yet again, they are divided. Yet again, they are fighting among themselves. So, to solve our issue in Southern Cameroon, to defeat La Republique is impossible militarily. That's just the absolute truth. Because we don't have the weapons, we don't have the guns, we don't have the ammunitions. We are not strong military. We haven't put our defense forces with better equipment that will help facilitate in defeating the forces of La Republique. But I'm not saying that our forces are not doing their very best. They are with what they have. But with what they have, they cannot achieve that goal because so many of our people will have to be slaughtered in order for us to even see that sovereignty or independence. But to change the game so that our people will not be killed in so much huge amount is that we need to change our way of thinking. Look at what is happening in Southern Cameroon from an African perspective, from an African point of view. What is happening in Africa? What is happening in French African nations? What is happening all across Northern Africa, Eastern Africa? What is happening? So many people have been killed. Wars, the citizens, when they express themselves about what is going on, the government, the regime of the countries in Africa kill their own people. And guess what? If we look at it, in all those countries, 14 of them, all the leaders are supported by France. Why is that? Why is that? Because France benefit when they're taking 500 billion of your own money to make France great. How do you expect for Africa to survive? If you listen to the great former ambassador Arikana from National Telegraph to ABC with Chris Anna, you have to rethink the way you see things and the way forward for Southern Cameroon to survive and thrive. We must become Pan-Africanist. That's the ultimate way forward. Enough for Southern Cameroon to survive. Africa must survive. And to do that is through a united Pan-African voice. A united Pan-African voice. The Africans in the diaspora must mobilize. And that is what the great former ambassador Arikana is doing. And if you look at it, National Telegraph, which started somewhere in Manu Division by Eric Tacto, the activist. When he started, he was a journalist, and he's now an activist and a journalist. And he has brought his National Telegraph in the United States. But from the way I look at National Telegraph is not just a media organ for Southern Cameroon, but it's a platform for Africans, for Pan-African philosophy, ideologies, and discussions of ways of how to improve our continent and to make our continent better and great. If you listen to for example, like President Donald Trump, the word he used, he called Africa a shithole country. And if you listen to the president of Russia, he said Africa is a continent for cemetery, for it's a continent where you bury people, where the leaders don't improve to make the country better, but it's where they get buried. It's a cemetery. I'm just quoting his words. And Chris Anno did some really thoughtful question. Many of the reasons why Africa is backward is because of our leaders. But then again, the reason why our African presidents and leaders are not doing so much because of the power in being. It's because of the European supremacy. They control the African Union. They control the African presidents. So we must change that avenue. We, the people of Africa, we, the African diasporans, because we are the African Union. Europe is not the African Union. European leaders are not the African leaders. We are the African Union. And we must voice our opinions and have discussions in order for Africa to grow. In order for Africa to grow. Southern Cameroon cannot win this war militarily. La République du Cameroon cannot win this war militarily. At the end of this war will be the fact that both sides, many people will be killed. And I'm not sure that we will achieve our independence if we follow Dr. Sako, who has been pronounced the president of Southern Cameroon. For me, even from the beginning, when Sissoco Ayektabe Julius created this interim government, I've always voiced my opinion. Like, we don't have a government. Honestly, Southern Cameroon doesn't have a government. Why do I say that? And some people will say, oh, we do have a government, but Southern Cameroon doesn't have a government. Why? Because a government of a country is attached to the land of that country. Is the government of Southern Cameroon present in Southern Cameroon? No. And you're just an organization fighting for independence, fighting for freedom. That's what you are. So having Dr. Sako the second president, and as a matter of fact, Dr. Ayabacho also is the president of the ADF. So we have two presidents. Even before Sissoco Ayektabe Julius and company were abducted in Nigeria, we had two presidents, Dr. Ayabacho and Sissoco Ayektabe Julius. Now, Sissoco Ayektabe Julius is in jail. We still have two presidents, Dr. Ayabacho and Dr. Sako. Now, some people say Dr. Sako is their president, and some people say Dr. Ayabacho is their president. But in reality, we don't have a country. Southern Cameroonians do not have a country. They don't have a home of their own. They are fighting for a home of their own. They don't. They are fighting for a home of their own to reclaim and restore their independence and sovereignty. But we haven't achieved that. To achieve that, Dr. Sako and Dr. Ayabacho must come together. You're not coming together because, you want to be the face, but because you think about the 8 million people. You are fighting for the 8 million people. You're not fighting for your careers or your positions. You're fighting for 8 million people. So it's time for those fools. I call them fools. I don't give a damn. I say what I say. I don't give a damn. I say what I say. How I say it. I want those two fools, Dr. Ayabacho and Dr. Sako, to put their fucking issues aside and think about the 8 million people, because they are not the one being killed. Every day, many Southern Cameroonians have been killed. But you have leaders who only give a damn about making themselves as the face of the revolution. Making yourself the face of revolution will not change anything if you don't do the work that must be done to free Southern Cameroonians. And to do that, our leaders must meet with other diplomats from all over Africa and all over the world. Build connections. But do you know who is actually doing something like that? It's not Dr. Sako and it's not Dr. Ayabacho. This is an activist, a journalist called Eric Dato. He's the one meeting so many people from different countries. He's the one building his platform, not just within Southern Cameroon, but within Africa, so that the message of Southern Cameroon can be spread worldwide, where we will have people advocating for our issues, as well as we advocating for the issues of other nations in Africa. Africa is one family. We must start thinking like that. Africa is one family on the ground of Africa and globally. Africa for Africans. Africans by Africans is the key for the survival of the black race. Is the key for the survival of the black race. Many people don't think, many Africans don't think like that. They only want to think about where they are from. Oh, I'm from Southern Cameroon. Oh, I'm from Togo. Or I'm from Ghana. Or I'm from this. Despite what country you call yourself, you are an African. And in order for us to change our revolution, Southern Cameroonians, we must think big and act boldly. We must think big and act boldly. It's not all about thinking about what is happening in Southern Cameroon, but it's thinking about what is happening in Africa and connecting it to Southern Cameroon so that we can free ourselves. As well as we're freeing ourselves, we can also free Africa from the chokeholds of France and European nations and Asia. You see China exploiting Africa. This will not end. Why? Because the black man is seen as weak. You see a black man in the United States, they see them as weak. They gun them down every day. The black man in Africa is seen as weak. You have Asia come in and take advantage. You have European nations come in and take advantage. India, they burning our people in India. Why? Because Africa is seen as weak. They still see us as slaves. They still see us as animals. They still see us as non-human beings. They may not say it to our face, but that's how they see us. Some people think, oh, getting married to other races will solve the issue of Africa. But that's a lie. It will never solve the issue of Africa. The other race will only just look at you as weak, as inferior. Africa for Africans. To solve the Southern Cameroon issues, we must mobilize and connect with other African nations. From Nigeria to Togo to Ghana to all the 55 nations in Africa. And I am happy with the work that Eric Tato is doing. Because Cristiano might be running his mouth over there. He's not doing that work. He's not. This is King H. I'm out. Till next time.